If, like me, you've probably worked on many Git repos at once, maybe microservices, and you often have something that looks a bit like this. And in my experience, this is quite a small version. This is an example I've pulled down from a demo microservices repo to give us an idea. So I've created a tool called Gitopolis, which allows you to categorize your repos and operate them in those subsets. So you can do things like list just the Java ones, or the front end ones, or the back end ones, or the ones for your team, or the ones that are shared amongst the teams. I quite often have a common tag, or a tag for my team. A concrete example of why I might want to have something to run across all the repos, I'm sure you're familiar with this, is to see whether everything is up to date, perhaps before I dive into a coding problem, or before I run a search of the code base across multiple repos, or maybe I'm going to point the LLM at it in the modern day. It's very useful to be able to point the LLM at many repos at once, but only if it's up to date or on the right branch. So here we have, if I just scroll up slightly, I've run exec, which allows you to run a command on many repos, tag to filter it down to Java, and then the double dash to main everything after that is to be executed on each repo, and that's the normal get status command. And you can see immediately I have a repo that's got out of date. So if I was to work based on that, I would be working on out of date code, which is always a problem. And I don't know about you, but I've definitely had to redo work when I've realized that I was behind. You might be thinking, I could do this with a for loop. I've done the same in the past. It's quite easy to throw together a bash for loop to run across multiple repos. But I found you fairly quickly run into things that are awkward. It's a bit less repeatable. You're expending some mental overhead in trying to do that. So I found having a particular tool for it was very useful. I did try some others, ended up writing my own, because I wanted to learn Rust and create something that solved my own problem. So now, having seen that it's become out of date, I'm going to update everything. I'm not going to bother with the tag this time. And we can see very quickly that we get all of our repos back into a good state. If I run the status command again, we can see that they're all nicely up to date, ready for work. We can run other commands, such as having a look to see what state everything is. So we might just want to see what the latest is on each one, and we can ask it to put everything on one line. So we ask Git for one line, we ask Gitopolis for one line, and they both can do that. So we see carts, the latest one is deprecation. Same for all 5, because this is an archived example of a multi-repo. Sometimes I get asked for more information on the state, or I want to know the state myself of a whole bunch of repos. So here's a more advanced command to use toke, which is a significant lines of code counter, to get an idea of how many lines of code we're looking at in this repo. And we can see that immediately we've got an idea of the scale of this particular microservices. So we can see that the front end's got 21,000 lines of code. And just to break this down, the exec one line is the same as we had before. So I want the output on one line for each repo. We then, in quotes, put the command that we want Gitopolis to run for us. So we're taking toke, which is a line of code counter, and then we're piping the output of that through awk to just grab the total out of that. And then the output of the entire Gitopolis command, we are then piping outside the quotes through another awk command to flip the repo name and the line count that we got. And then we can sort it numerically, so we can get the biggest number of lines first, which is generally what you want to know. So I've used that for real clients. It's been very useful. I've been asked for it and updates for that. That's definitely provided some value and some situational awareness, and is a good combination with the LLM tools. And finally, something else I want to show you is this is actually useful for teams, because the state of the repos is actually held in a simple TOML file, which looks like this. So we have, this is actually a single repo. TOML's a bit confusing, but it's relatively simple. So the front end has the tags, and then it's stored where the Git remote is. And if you want to share this with a team member, so here we have a team, or maybe you've rebuilt your computer, so they need to get up and running quickly. You can literally give them a copy of the file. So now we have that, and then you can go Gitopolis clone. Well, first you can go Gitopolis list, so they can see what's in there. You can use the long mode to get a better idea, or the tags view to see it all by tag. So if they want to see what's in that config file before they do anything, they can now literally just run clone with that file in place, and it will use the information in the file to pull down each repo. And with that, I'll pull down, this new starter is ready to go, and they can go into one of these repos and get started. So hopefully with that shown, you can see that Gitopolis is a neat little tool that allows you to get a handle on your local setup with many Git repositories. I've used it to great effect on my client projects. I hope you found it useful too. It's AGPL, so completely open source. There's no financial motive behind this other than I wanted to make a tool that was better for me and everyone else. It's made in Rust, so it's ridiculously fast. Give it a go, start the repo, let me know what you think, raise any issues you find. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next video. Hit subscribe, because I hope to do more.